make money with such a stupid idea?
And how can you not make money with such a brilliant idea?
At first, we didn't know what to do with all the money. We tried burying it, shredding it, and burning it. But in the end, we decided to just give it all away.
Come again, sir.
I'm getting back in line.
When you're chasing greatness, just remember, it's not about what you say. It's about what you do.
What's up, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video here today. It's the C9FanCast Season 1 Episode 12. Worlds 2020 begins this week. And I am pretty excited, actually, being completely honest here. We have not had any international events beside this, beside the 2020 Midseason Cup. So I'm actually excited to see, all these teams compete. Whether or not they're, going to get out of play-ins doesn't matter to me. But I'm just glad that we get to have, an international event. If they had canceled Worlds, freaking hell, I've actually been pretty sad. Because, we'd have had no events all year. Essentially beside the 2020 Midseason Cup with just, top esports winning that one. So, yep. How was your guys' day before we start? You guys have a good day? All you guys are playing Among Us, aren't you?
My day's been going pretty good. I am currently in a Civ 6 game with some friends. So
yeah, we'll see him in 80 hours.
Holy shit.
Man.
Oh, Colin, why does your setup look like you're in a nightclub?
Dude, I just love it. I love the nanolith. I got some LEDs in. That's the goal. That's the gamer goal.
All you need is girls in there twerking, and you're good. You're good. You just need to be you need a DJ setup. You need some girls in there when you're playing League of Legends, just twerking in the background. Oh, but Team Liquid is actually playing Mad Lions at the end of the play-in stage on Friday. So just to have a little preview for that match, because that's probably the most important matchup of the day that most of the Western fans are looking at. Do you guys actually think Mad Lions will lose to Team Liquid? Actually,
no.
I think there's always a chance. I think going into the Worlds, coming off a couple new patches and stuff, if there's ever going to be an upset, it's all, And I think a lot of people would say that, TL beating Mad Lions should be a little bit of an upset. It would be in the first game, those first games, so to say. I don't think they're too far different from each other. I don't know who is blue side or red side in toss-up or not, but if TL plays a really, really good, clean early game, they could probably easily beat Mad Lions. But the question is, will Mad let them do that?
Yeah. Yeah, because what people don't know is that I want you guys to guess who has the fastest game time relatively, and who has the longest game time. The longest game time is our boys TL. Their average game time is 38 minutes and 25 seconds. That's slower than wildcard teams. That's actually just atrocious. Unless they can... I'm not saying that just because they play slow, they'll lose, but, they're not facing North American teams. I want to give the wildcard teams a little bit of credit there, because they are going to play a different way normally. What the heck? Why is Vin Diesel outside? You guys talk for a moment?
Yeah. Definitely TL is definitely the slowest game, and a lot of that comes around that they play heavily around dragon sacking and doing their best not to lose a game, which in theory I don't like personally. I think that you want to be more aggressive. I think you want to build your gold lead, and you don't want to rely on dragon sacking.
Yep.
But against some of these wildcard teams and stuff, that might actually be the best way to go for TL or teams like Mad Lions and TL. If you can play safe and stop and not make mistakes against these first teams, you should be able to go pretty easily through them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think TL's playstyle is very slow paced, but it's with high precision, I would say. So they barely make mistakes. Obviously, against Mad Lions, it's interesting to see what would happen. Shadow's a very active jungler, and in contrast to Broxa, who sometimes isn't super active. You know, towards the end in the final series against TSM, we did see some proactive plays by him. So, you know, credit where credit is due. But I do wonder how the jungle matchup, and at least for me going into that match, I think that's the role to.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the eye test, it looks like Mad Lions this whole year was more a cohesive team to me than Team Liquid. Team Liquid looks like they mostly were just winning their games in North America, mostly based off the fact that they just had some better players than, you know, most of the teams here in North America. And Mad Lions actually played competitive games against teams with other good players. So I'm just not too confident in TL at all as a team. So I don't know why I would favor them over a team from a better region at all, really. Yeah. What are the ways you guys think that TL could pull this off, though?
Oh, they get a good early game. They get dragon control early and
feed Bjergsen or feed Jensen.
Whether you want to call feed Jensen or not, like, you know, if they just get a lead and they can play safe, there's a good chance that they might be able to, you know, just, I'll say outlast Mad Lions, but they can definitely force them into like a situation to where like they can just out macro them at the end.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think looking back at the Mad versus Rogue game, seeing how Rogue kind of shut down Shadow or limit what he could do, I think if TL employed something very similar, that could possibly help them in the game. Because if you look at, you know, the matchups between the lanes, you know, Arome versus Impact, their bot lane, and to some extent even the mid lane, I would say it's pretty even. But the biggest edge for Mad is definitely their jungle. So if TL can find a way to shut that down, I think when the game goes even, I think TL does.
Now, like, my thing is that TL thrive on not making mistakes and then capitalizing on you making a mistake so they can punish that. But what if Mad Lions beat you in the early game so fast that you're not going to be able to capitalize on anything? But to be fair, this is a best of one, and maybe TL, after all this time of, you know, powering up in the hyperbolic time tour, maybe they have a new strategy now.
Maybe. I hope.
If there's any good news for TL, it's the fact that it looks like Tactical is having a really good solo queue experience in China right now. I know he's popped off on quite a few games with Kalista and some other people. So, you know, maybe with Senna not being the priority and stuff, maybe something like Kalista and stuff will allow him to, you know, carry with TL.
Yep.
I certainly hope so. We need somebody from North America to pop off and overperform, or we're not getting anybody out of groups this year.
See. Yes. I guess the other matchup for the first day of play-ins that's pretty huge is LGD versus PSG. So the PSG is the second seed from the PCS, and LG obviously from LPL. Any thoughts on the matchup?
Well, I don't know much about these teams, but you told me one's from the LPL, so
yeah,
I'm gonna go on a big stretch, big leap in judgment here, and I'm gonna go ahead and favor the LPL team because, goddamn, they're really good at playing League of Legends over there.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how LGD fares in the play-ins. You know, obviously Peanut and Shie are the players that I'm focusing on for LGD. For PSG, you know, they have some remnants of the old Hong Kong Attitude lineup. Their bot lane unified stands out. I haven't really watched them play this year, so obviously I can't tell how they'll match up against LGD, but I think it will be interesting because I think PSG and UOL, I think, in that team are kind of fighting for the second spot. So whether or not PSG can pull out a win, I think it would be huge.
Yeah, I definitely think when it comes to like the PSG thing is unfortunate. They've lost, I think, 3/5 of their players that qualify. So you have to wonder how much synergy the team's going to have and stuff. I think when you look at Group B and the play-ins, the second team to look at that might compete with LGD, which I don't think any of the teams will. I think LGD is one of the top teams, as I might talk later. Would be, Unicorns of Love. I think Unicorns of Love have practiced a lot against LAC teams. They have had an excellent season so far. I see them in a way potentially being able to maybe take a game off LGD, but I think PSG is in big trouble. I think if you lose 3/5 of your team going into Worlds, it's going to be really tough for you to, do much.
Yeah.
Like, my thing is that when it comes down to these playing teams, when one of them realizes they're not so good, they try doing these weird comps that make no sense. Like last year with what was it, Detonation Focus Me, the team from Japan. Like they were consistently always bad making it every single year. They would play like Heimerdinger mid, shit like that. It would make no sense in their composition. Yet it was like they try to consistently throw random curveballs to throw off the other team. But I mean, that's good that you're trying to do that, but it's coming from a place of they know they can't play standard, or they know they can't play the way you're supposed to play, so they throw those curveballs. Now, some people argue that's a good thing because it allows you to do different things, but I mean, one of these teams is going to realize that. Like, I'm looking at some of these teams and I'm going, even from watching some of their games that I went back to watch a couple of Unicorns of Love games, because there's a guy who asked me to watch them. They're pretty much Cloud9ing everybody, except for Gambit. They're essentially Cloud9 for their region. Essentially, outside of Gambit, they're destroying everybody. So that's my thing, is that if their players match up against someone like LGD, like, how do they even beat them, though? Like, I get the LGD squad isn't as good as the other three teams that are coming from China, but they're also no slouches. Like, Xie, Lang X, Kramer, they're not bad players whatsoever. They're just bad by comparison to the other three people. The only coin flip player in LGD is Peanut, in my own personal opinion. So that's where I would see it. For Team Liquid's group that they're in, they actually have stronger, quote-unquote, stronger wildcard teams, because Supermassive, you're bringing in Zeitnot, Cacao, Snowflower, those are players that have those players have had success in various ways, and they're not, like, new, obviously they're not rookies, so. And you also have Mad Lions, Legacy Esports, they're from Oceania. I mean, they're not going to do anything, let's be honest here. Oceania's fucking trash. Holy shit. Oceania sucks so bad.
Come on, man.
Oceania sucks so bad.
Yeah.
Triple's probably watching the podcast, man. He's like crying on the side. Like, come on, man.
God. Or Mad Lions. If Mad Lions get first seed in the group, I'm not surprised at all. I think that pound for pound, they can take TL, and also vice versa too. I think that people are like only focusing on aggressive tendencies, but you have to factor in some teams punish over aggressive tendencies. Is someone really gonna tell you that Mad Lions are just gonna walk over everybody because they're just that much faster of a team? Not really. I don't think so. I think that if a team can't punish over aggressive tendencies, they probably shouldn't be at Worlds then, because you're not even playing like a team, though. To punish what a player is going to do, you're going to have to be able to coordinate as a team to stop a certain player. So that's what I'm seeing right now for some of these groups. So Team Liquid being Mad Lions, I could see it, but am I going to predict it? Hell no. No. I'm predicting Mad Lions to beat them, but I do think TL will beat everybody except for Mad Lions, though. That's what I think personally. LGD, if LGD or Unicorns of Love, if LGD is not first place, is that considerably choking?
I don't think it matters as long as you move on. I mean, how many times have we seen a team that finished second place in their group go on to win the actual world championship? As long as you advance, I don't think it matters.
I feel
in my opinion.
Wait, in their group, like in the actual group stage, you're just talking play-ins. Because wasn't IG come out of their group in the second seed, like
last year
in 2018?
Yeah, they were second seed. I mean, being honest, if anybody watched the LPL that specific year, they were the best team in the LPL. What ended up happening was RNG were a team that stabilized their playstyle. So IG were good at being very, very fast, very aggressive. They always used to up the tempo of the game. RNG was like that team that held back their aggression and then played that scaling style. And I personally think if IG had made it to the MSI that RNG won, IG would have won. IG were the best team to me personally that year. RNG just were the what do you call them? The kryptonite? RNG were just their kryptonite because they lost every best of 5 to RNG. They lost the semifinal spring. They lost in the finals of that year, and every time they faced RNG, they lost. Now
They just knew them.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what to expect from them.
They were not better. It was just that they just had a counter playstyle that effectively neutralized IG's playstyle. But I've seen like second seed teams do really well. That's why I'm kind of not really worried for Dragon X, but Dragon X is a weaker Korean team to me personally that's in the event. I don't like even just my random thoughts that I was thinking of today. I don't see a world where Rogue gets out of the group of JDG and Damwon. I really don't. Now, the biggest choke of worlds of all time might come from this group. What if Damwon don't make it out of the group? What if Damwon gets knocked out? That'd be one of the biggest chokes I've ever seen because they are insanely good as players. But it is best of ones. Anything can happen. But the group that's most volatile to me still is, I would say, the Fanatic group with Gen G, TSM, and LGD. If they make it out, they're going to be in that group anyway. I don't know how I feel about TSM and Fnatic. Fnatic have this thing where like they like to be in control of the game from like minute 1, and if they're not in control, what I've seen from them is that they consistently tilt. And I think if they lose a game to TSM or Gen G within the first few days of playing, they're gonna consistently just play bad, and they might not make it out because people are giving them the benefit of the doubt because last year they made it out of the group of death. Relatively different squad with a way different play style. That's for me personally. But TSM, from a results point of view, it looked pretty good how they made it to the LCS finals and they won for the 2020 summer split. But to me, the gameplay was not good. And a team like Fnatic, I think, can match TSM. Gen G's different. Gen G is weirdly consistent, inconsistent. Their players are always doing something different than each other. They're good players individually in terms of, you know, the main core, Clay, BDD, and Ruler. I don't think Light's that good. Rascal is a weirdly stable, solid top laner, so they can drop games too.
He's like serviceable in a sense, yeah.
Yeah, like people are saying, well, Gen G can clap all these teams. I mean, have you watched Gen G games? This is the same team that was consistently choking to T1 for many, many years and splits, even when they were called, you know, even when they were Samsung, they were still losing to them. You know, like Gen G, even though they're obviously renamed from Samsung, they still have never won a best of 5 in the LCK. Like, come on, I mean, well, they won a few, but it's like they realistically they have issues that people don't really exploit, but that they can exploit. BDD's great. I don't know what Thorin was saying, where he was saying BDD's not a top 5 mid. I don't know what crack you smoking. I don't know what meth you were given as a kid. I don't know, but that's just wrong, you know. But I just want to ask you guys: is there any team on here where if there's a team that might be able to be upsetting, be thrown out from like a tournament favorite, whether it be top, Dragon X, Damwon, or JDG, who do you think it would be, honestly?
I gotta give my meme answer. Let's go Dragon X. My boys. My boys forever. They got stuffed in the Korean finals, but I keep gotta root for them. I would go with probably Gen G.
If I could see a team not make it out that's hyped up to do well, I would say Gen G.
Yeah, I was gonna say this.
Yeah.
I think it's either Gen G or LGD, like whatever team that doesn't make it out of Group C, because I think those two are the favorite team to get out. And both teams are, you know, mostly ranked pretty high up, and they do have a lot of really great players. But individually, I think Gen G does have the better players in comparison to LGD. So if Gen G does choke this, like I think it'll be a pretty bad thing for.
Okay, so before we get to Zen's list of the top 20 players he had going into Worlds, I do want to give a little bit of credit to some of the North American players, because I do feel like when people make these lists, they don't give enough credit to the North American players. So let's start with TSM. Out of any of the TSM players, let's just pick 2. Who do you think would be the deciding factors on TSM to make them even get out of the group, even if they did?
Bjergsen.
And
mid jungle.
And
Double Lift?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I think for TSM to get out of the group, they're going to need to play through topside. So I would put Spica and Broken Blade as the players.
Okay.
Derek, you're going to get good play out of, but I think their actual win conditions in this group is topside.
Okay. I was gonna say Broken Blade and Bjergsen because I don't think Double has played that well. I think that in the playoffs, I saw them playing more through Broken Blade when you saw Spica dedicate resources topside. But the issue here with that is Broken Blade cannot play weak side very well. That's going to be something that they're going to either have to fix or draft away from because Broken Blade playing weak side has not been how they've gotten most of their wins, though. But, we'll see how it goes. What do you think? What do you think, Zen?
Like I said, I think it's Spica and Bjergsen. I think these two are the driving forces for TSM. Obviously Bjergsen has to be that solid rock against his competition in Group C. Obviously against Nemesis, I do edge him out slightly. But if Spica is not there, there's nothing much he can do. Credit where credit's due, like we said, and like Khan pointed out earlier, like Spica has been doing pretty well, and he has done better as the playoffs has progressed. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how this.
Okay. Now
it just depends for me because
okay,
Bjergsen, how do you think Bjergsen compares to Nemesis in their group?
I think he's actually better. I think he's played better. He's played better than Nemesis all year, essentially. From what I've seen, Nemesis is not that good, man. This year, last year he was pretty good, but this year overall, I think Bjergsen's played better.
So that brings the question: do you think you can tear this group open by going through that route, beating Fanatic through the mid lane, and just beating Bjergsen? I made a joke about it before, but maybe that's an actual route you do.
But here's the problem: I don't think the current meta you can play through mid lane to win very well.
Yeah, you play through topside, don't you?
Like I think you like mid laners have to use their mid-laners have to use their strength in other lanes and other areas. I don't know if you can straight up just, win straight mid, because I think mid-laners are too good at worst shaking hands.
And even Bjergsen, if Bjergsen's not on Syndra, Zillion, or TF, his impact isn't, insane. He really thrives on those picks specifically.
Well, I saw him solo carry on Azir earlier.
Or even Azir, yeah. I forgot Azir's one of his best ones too, but I'm factoring in, in this group with BDD and potentially Xie, those are players that can shut him down. Or not shut him down, make his impact less impactful. Yeah. Even, Nemesis, he can go toe-to-toe with Nemesis, probably even beat him in lane. But, that's one mid laner. You're facing BDD, you're also facing Xie. Xie's faced him before, back in the 2017 World Championship, and he did very fine against Bjergsen. He actually shut him down to a point where he wasn't able to roam, and he wasn't able to have that impact on the map, even in both their games when Xie was back on Team World Elite. But if it's for TSM, for me specifically, I'm saying Broken Blade and Bjergsen will be the players from North America that I would look at from TSM that I would think that have the most impact for TSM getting out of the group. Let's go to FlyQuest. Who do you guys think on FlyQuest is going to be an impact for them if they were to make it out by some miracle?
That's the POE, man.
Yeah,
what? No love for my boy Santorin? He said on Twitter he's always underrated. Yeah, sorry, Santorin, you get destroyed, bro. You're getting wrecked. Shadow and Karsa. That's like game right there. That's game.
Oof.
Because someone told me earlier in my other podcast I did with my friend, well, Santorin can track the junglers. He's tracking North American junglers. How is that even the same? He's never played against these guys before, especially in a competitive sense that's going to be on stage where, obviously the pressure is much more doubled, and these players are much better at not going to fall for the same mistakes or do the same mistakes that the players in the LCS were doing. But Shadow, credit to him, pathing's not his strongest suit, but then again, I would still take Shadow over Santorin. But for FlyQuest, I would say Ignar and Power of Evil would be the reasons why they would get out of the group. But, what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. They've been the players that have been propping up their entire team this whole split, pretty much.
Maybe Solo's the best player. Maybe Solo's secretly the best player on FlyQuest if we haven't been giving him any credit.
We'll see it, man. We'll see.
All right, and the last team, which is Khan's team, Team Liquid. All right, Khan, who do you think is going to help TL potentially get out of Group A or B if they get out?
I think it's all on Core JJ and Tactical. Like, not that I have big faith in the spot lane, don't get me wrong, but if they want to get out, they're going to need their bot lane to be able to create pressure to let them get leads through Dragon. I have faith Jensen will do fine, you know.
Yeah.
I think Impact isn't a carry player, and I also think Brox is not a carry player. So if you're looking at who's going to be your stable source, stable win condition, it's going to be that bot side and making sure that they have advantages, and you try to go that Dragon route, because I don't know if they're going to be able to play through anywhere else. Like, as much as we joke about TL being all double if you only play bot side, like, you look at this team without double lift and you're like, well, the only way I feel like they could actually win is if they play through bot side.
Because, like, Jensen, I think Jensen is great. I think he played just as good as Beerson, almost. Like, if Beerson was a 10, Jensen was a 9. But Jensen's also going to fall into the same category that Beerson falls into. Against mid laners like Caps, mid laners like Angel, and the mid laner maybe on Machi Esports, there's a potential he's going to get shut down, so you have to find other avenues in order to play out of. Tactical has been playing pretty well. I was going to say 3 players. I was going to say Jensen, Tactical, and Core JJ. I think Tactical's been great, and Core JJ's also been great. So I think if you don't want to count Jensen, I think Tactical is another player you could play through to win some games. Like, he arguably, if the LCS wasn't like completely stupid with their votes, I would have most people that I've talked to would have put either FBI or Tactical as their all-pro first ADC. I think Tactical is a player that you can play through, but just gonna depend. But yeah, guys, I also wanted to make sure we were giving some of the North American guys credit, because a lot of people actually don't. But I think we have some pretty decent players in North America, even though it might be all doom and gloom. But Zen, what is your list for the top 20 players for the World Championship?
So before we get into the top 20, I want to give honorable mentions to 4 players I think from the top 4 regions, from the major regions, that I think could have potentially made it, or maybe top 25. So LCS, obviously, I think Bjergsen. There's not much to say. I think he's the best NA player, like NA representing player coming in. For LEC, I think it's Larson. I think this dude is really, really good. He's definitely some player to watch. For LCK, I think it's the 5th and only member of Damwon on this list. It's Ghost. I think Ghost as an 80 carry is often overshadowed. Having Ruler, having Deft in his region. Obviously, really good players, but he's pretty good himself. And for LPL, I have Xie, LGD's mid laner, as an.
Yeah, he's not great. He's not average. He's just really solid and really good at what he does.
Yeah. But starting with number 20 on my top 20, I have Selfmade from Fanatic.
We're going to pick this shit apart. We're going to say, no, go back to Reddit, you slob. Just kidding. Selfmade, all right. I think Selfmade's great. I think Selfmade is one of the key reasons why Fnatic were relevant most of the year, honestly. Yeah. I think Selfmade's great. I think he's fantastic. Lane pathing, objective controlling. Now, the issue with Selfmade is the reason why I would have him lower is because he essentially does not play with his laners. That's going to be a big problem going into the event. Like, he does not play with them. He does not play with Nemesis. I don't care what no one's told me. Watch the games properly. Yeah. Get out of Iron 5, because they do not play together. Whipple and Nemesis and Selfmade do not have good synergy. Hillsing does not have good synergy with Selfmade. And Selfmade, from what I've seen out of his ganking, he mostly just actually ganks for bot, actually. He mostly ganks for bot, and then sometimes dedicates resources top. He kind of just leaves Nemesis on his own. I don't think Selfmade's bad, but in order to put yourself to that next level, I'm gonna need this guy to play with his laners, to play with his teammates. He's always trying to 1v9. I get that can happen in Europe with marginally weaker competition, but I don't know if that's gonna happen here. Unless you maybe get him the Hecarim pick he was really thriving on, get him his Graves pick or his Lee Sin pick. You're not always going to guarantee those things anyway. But overall, I think Selfmade's a fantastic jungler. I think he should be on the list, actually. So?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot. Khan, you want to add anything to Selfmade?
I think Selfmade is one of the better EU junglers out there, if not the best one. I didn't really get to full top 20. I don't know too many of the regions well enough player-wise to put 20 people down. I have a list of 10.
That's fine.
He would definitely be, in my personal opinion, in the top. Like, if I had to think like the next 10 people, I think he's the main reason why Fnatic is where they are this season. So I would probably put him in that top 20 list. I can see him being in my top 15, actually.
Okay. All right, we'll get to Zen when he has 10, and then we'll see who you guys have for your top 10.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was planning to do.
All right, so who's your number 19?
Number 19, I have the top lane of G2, Wonder. I think this guy is super underrated just because he has on his team. I think this guy is the strongest top laner in EU coming out right now. Obviously, Arome, Ripple, and what's the other guy? Ripple, Arome, and Rogue's Finn. I think in comparison, those three do not stand a chance against Wonder. And I think Wonder has shown time and time again that as a solo laner, he's able to match up to international competition. Obviously, he's not going to crush it, like how he crushed Finn or how he crushed Ripple. But I do think that he is a world-class player. And I think he draws a lot of attention, and he's a really, really underrated.
Yeah, ever since the 2018 World Championship, he's been a one-man army. Ever since we saw him started popping off on the Urgot, popping off on the Aatrox, this man is literally, last year in the 2020 LEC Spring Split, playing Sejuani top, so the other players on his team can play carries. And he's not even losing! What is that? I think Wonder's great. People say, oh yeah, Dorn, what was his name last year? Sword is better than him? Get the fuck out of my face.
No.
What are you talking about? You're a clown. Oh, because it's Griffin BG2. Was because of Sword, I can tell you that much. But I think Wonder is great. I think he deserves to be on a top 20 list. All right, who do you have for number 18?
Number 18, I have SOFM, also known as SFM.
He should be higher than that. He should be higher than that. Oh.
So, the reason why, I'll go through why I have him on his list. To me, he's a better version of Selfmade. And the reason why I say that is he's also a hard carry. But the reason why I put SFM higher than Selfmade is because even in the games where he is put behind early, even the games where he gets shut down, he's still able to make an impact. And for me, that's what I really value in a player. Like, I don't mind if you feed the first 3 kills, as long as he's still impactful in the game, as long as you still bring your team in the game. And that's what he did. So I give a lot of credit to him.
I think he is the best objective-based jungler in the tournament. This man knows how to play 2 objectives, get there quickly, get your advantage, and push out your lanes. And the issue with SOFM, it's not that it's going to be Worlds, his first Worlds, so he'll choke. None of that. I think it's that he puts his resources in the wrong places at certain times. I think that when your mid laner's ahead, I don't see a reason to put your resources top. I just don't see the reason. Like, Ben is not horrible. I just don't see the reason to put resources into him. And when Huanfeng is ahead, why is he not putting resources into him? But I don't think SOFM is bad. I think this is SOFM's coming out party for this World, and okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think he would do well against teams that are worse than him, but like the game against top, like when better teams face against Suning, like this guy is shut down and he can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And you know, it just goes to show that there's only a certain cap to him as long as his team's not up to par.
So we're on 18. So who's 17?
17. So I have 369. 369 for me is strong. You know, really good top laner. Obviously, I have other top laners on here, but I do think that he's someone that you can reliably, you know, consider as a threat carry, but also on a weak side. So that's one thing that I do really value in a player being flexible. If you're only strong on one way, you do lose points because you can play the other.
Yeah. My thing with 369 is he kind of only plays one way. I haven't really seen him play weak side effectively. Like the game in the finals where he had to play weak side, he was kind of a reason why they were losing.
So there's a bunch of reasons. I think for the weak side games, like obviously he still has work to do. You know, obviously I think we can both agree that his strong side is much better. But I think what he allowed in getting the attention top side allowed for his bot side to really maximize. And I think obviously some games they lose because of it, because you know he just dies too much. But then I can definitely see the upside in week 6.
All right. So that was number what? 16?
That was 17.
All right.
So 16 now. 16, I have Barrow. Damwon.
Ooh, that guy is insane. He was a former Alistar one trick. If people don't know him. Yeah.
So I think this guy is the second best support. I have another support on here. But I definitely think this guy has a huge reason as to why Damwon is doing so well. He's been good last year, and you know he's doing the same thing this year.
Okay, I think Beryl is great. Honestly, like last year he was only on Alistar, but this year he proved to me that he can play other carries effectively, like how he plays Alistar. So Yeah, I'm fine with that one. This is 15, right?
15. I don't want to break your heart, man, but this is where I put BDD. BDD is a really good mid laner, but I think the players, up there are just too good, man.
My heart.
The biggest thing about BDD for me, like you said, is the lack of jungler synergy. Like, for some reason, him and Kled never actually, I think, played together that well.
They're like, all right, you do what you want to do. I would do. I do what I want to do. You do.
So I think that's definitely a huge problem against better teams. But BDD is straight up fire on Azir and Zoe. You give him those two champions, this dude is a menace.
He team fights very well. He team fights insanely well.
Yes. And I think what he does to allow Ruler, the AD carry, to provide him space, basically, in team fights, is something that's super underrated. I don't think anybody talks about what he does for his carries, especially the AD carry.
Alright. Okay. Damn, I hate you. Put my boy BDD that low. 14.
14. This is time for G2's jungler Yankos. I think this guy is super underrated. And similar to Wonder, just because he has really good players on his team.
God's face.
I think
this guy popped out.
The reason why I think. Oh, you go.
Listen, I would like to say, I don't watch a ton of EU, but every time I turn on G2 and I see this guy, he's always doing something nuts. So, I like it. I like the moxie.
People have to see Khan's face when this video goes up. Oh my god, his eyes look like it's
Khan, rip me apart, man.
I think Jankos in his past has been one of the top players. I think this year he has gotten so much further down. I actually think he's the weakest player on G2. And I agree with you a little bit. I agree with you mainly the fact that Wonder is underrated and stuff like that. But to put Jankos above Wonder for me is like a huge crime, because I feel like a lot of G2's games are the team bailing like Jankos and bot lane out.
I think the reason why I have Jankos that high is how I would categorize him and Karsa are they're enablers. So they enable some other teammate or some other lane to do well. So they're not necessarily the one to shine. But one thing that I do really like about Jankos is that he's patient. He doesn't often overcommit. And he does cover for a lot of Caps' aggression. Like Caps, although he's a great player, like sometimes he's just way too far up. And we saw several times that he got caught. But Jankos is always there. Most of the time to cover for Caps. So I do want to give him props. Jankos, he's not as good as he used to be, but I do think that he's still a really, really good part of G2, and I don't think he's the weakest. I think Perks is the weakest part of G2, followed by Mickey.
Man, I'm not saying those two are strong, but you think Wonder's weaker on G2 than Jankos, and that to me doesn't make much sense.
For me, I think it's what they provide for the team. I think Wonder on another team is still a really good player, but I think what Jankos provides for this G2 team specifically, I think is often overlooked because he's not the highlight plays all the time, like in comparison to Shadow, in comparison to Selfmade, he doesn't really have that many, but I think what he does for G2, I think, is something that's not really seen on the scoreboard.
So that was number
14.
13. We're almost there.
Almost there. Do you want me to speed things up or not?
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
13, really quick. I think it's the best support coming to Worlds. It's Lumao from JDG. I think this guy is a better version, smarter version of Hylissang. This guy's super hyper aggressive. He's always there to start the skirmishes. He's always there when the skirmishes arrive. Yeah, exactly.
Phase is insane. Oh my god. Him and Loken are the best 2v2 in the LPL.
So, going into 12, I have his bot lane partner, Loken, actually. So, Loken, Lumao, I think both are really, really good. I think this is definitely a bot lane to, look at for Worlds. I think Loken is what I would consider, like, a really good cleanup, stable AD carry. He's not going to lose you the game, per se. And he's definitely there when you need him in the big moment.
Alright, so that's number 12. 13.
11.
11. Oof.
11. This one is hard because I think it's more of a top 11 than top 10. But for me, number 11 is Nuguri from Damwon.
Okay.
I think this guy is a better version of 369. Like I said, everything about 369, but better. I think this guy, when he gets the lead, especially with Canyon, they just accelerate the game so fast. The way that they take over the jungler's top side, I think, suffocates so much about the jungler that it shuts down the whole game for the enemy team. So I definitely think this guy's a real good player. Alright, top 10, Con. What do you have for number 10?
So this might be controversial because he's so low on the list, but my top 10 player is Chovy. I think Chovy is a solid mid laner. I think he's...
Ravioli's coming in, man.
I'm positively seething over here. Seething.
I think Dragon X is pretty overrated as a team when it comes to the Korean teams. I think, like I said, I think being top 10 means you're like one of the elite. But as you'll see probably with my teams list, D or X falls a lot lower, and Chovy does not seem to me to be a player that I think is going to carry his team far at Worlds.
I have a quick question before Ravioli jumps in. In terms of mid lane ranking, where does Chovy rank for you if he's top 10 for it?
Let's see. I have 1, 2. I think I have 3 ahead of him.
Okay.
So I have him as the 4th best mid laner. I probably value a few other players higher than most people do, but I just think that Chovy to me is a very solid mid laner. He's earning in the top 10, but I need to see him do something internationally to put him up higher. He went to this mid-season cup, and him and Dragon X got their behinds kicked, and it wasn't pretty at all. So
my fucking boy Chovy, every fucking day goes out there with this circus show and brings home the bacon every fucking game that he's in Korea. And what is his reward from Code over here? Ungratefulness. That's what I'm skidding over here. Now you make good points though. I would personally rank him higher because I have seen how good he is. I think using a team performance to rank an individual player is kind of a little sus. But I can't really say too much because I used the same thing to shit on Double Lift for years.
Well, I think too. I think mid laners have become this new thing to where the mid laner affects their team's play so much with how they play through side lanes and stuff. So that's why I think more than any other players, I think mid laners are the ones where you look a lot at their teams and see are they kind of opening up the map and affecting their side lanes and other places as well.
Right, I can sort of understand that. He is more of a mid laner that he wants to run the show. He wants to be the guy that everyone plays through, and that's not really the meta we're in right now.
He essentially wants to be the 2013, 2015 Faker, where it's it's the Chovy show. But whenever I watch Chovy, he's not a bad player. He's not a bad player whatsoever. Laning is insane. He roams effectively well. He is always more or less so winning his lane. He's always ahead. Now, the issue here with Chovy is that it's hard to really justify to people why he's great without any accomplishments. Because, he couldn't even win this split, though. But then again, Damwon was also insane. My thing with Chovy is, I don't know. We're gonna, to be that type of player that you get looked at as a legacy player, for me, I personally would have him in my top 5, but I can understand why a few other people would be kind of down on him because, you can be this really great player, but if you're not really getting anywhere with it, it's going to be a problem. But I do think one of the reasons why if Dragon X does really well at all, it'll be based off of him in depth. But, So Khan has Chovy at 10. Who did Zen have at 10?
I have Jackie Love.
Jackie from Top Esports?
Yes, I think Jackie Love is the best AD carry coming in. I think he's really good at maximizing damage outputs in fight. And obviously, as the AD carry coming in, he replaced the previous top AD carry. So he's taken on more of a shot caller role, and you can definitely see the upgrade that it had for top. Top obviously now probably a favorite for Worlds, and I think he is a big part of it. The one thing that I do worry about for Jackie Love is he is what I consider a frontline AD carry. So maybe due to shot calling or something, his positioning is at times more to the front side. So I think sometimes he gets caught, and that makes top lose the fight. But I do think that Jackie Love overall is a really solid AD carry and the best one going to Worlds.
Okay. Cod, what's your number 9?
My number 9 pick is Ruler. I think Ruler is by far the second best AD carry.
Oh, I forgot about Ruler, my bad. I put him higher than Jackie Love. Jackie Love's number 2 AD carry, my bad.
See, I have Ruler as number 2 AD carry on my list. I think Ruler is very much like Chovy. Like, I think similar to Chovy, I think he's the main centerpiece of one of these Korean teams. I think Ruler is mechanically great and everything like that. I do think, again, I when I say like he's not in my list, he's not the number 1 AD carry. I just think the other person is just a little bit better this year, especially on some of the newer AD carry champions. But Ruler is somebody who's going to win lane. He's one of the actual AD carries you can successfully play through as your as a win condition in this type of year, where it feels like AD carries are more of like utility-based champions. He's consistent in lane. He's overall just one of the best, players here at Worlds, and that's why he's my number 9.
He has to lane with life, so yeah, that's also very hard. Playing with a support who's consistently getting out-traded in lane. Man, life gets consistently beaten. And Ruler's... No, I love Ruler. I think Ruler's great. I think, like, when you think of a traditional hard carry ADC, outside of Deft and a few other people like Deft, Uzi, Prey, Ruler comes to my mind too. Like, Ruler has stepped up into that hard carry ADC, where it's like, usually you don't really notice that, but like the way his team plays around him, like you see him on Ezreal, usually always getting the max amount of damage. He's always consistently making sure that he's never dying, and he's never really out of position. He's always doing his job, and he's always a player you can always play through. So yeah, Ruler's the 9. Wait, Zen, so Jackie Love wasn't...
So Jackie Love is my second best AD carry, so I have Ruler higher up in the list.
Okay. So you guys are at 8 now. Okay.
So my number 9, just quickly, is Karsa. I think he is another enabler jungler similar to Jankos. Obviously, having the best player in the game kind of take the limelight away from you. But I do think that this guy, similar to Jankos, is always to cover rivers that. So I think this guy super underrated. Probably, I would say the most underrated player going to Worlds just because of the team he's on. But yeah, I think Karsa deserves this list.
I like Karsa. I think Karsa's a player where I could always count on him to get the game going. Like, Karsa wants to get the game going. He wants to finish early. Even if he doesn't have the best synergy with the laners that he's playing with, he'll always know what to do, when to do it, what composition is given to him. So Karsa's, what was your number?
Karsa was my 9.
9? Okay. That means Khan is on 8 then, right?
Yeah, so my number 8 is my top AD carry, and it's Jackie Love.
Jackie Love has been great, hasn't he? He's been pretty good.
Jackie Love, to me, I think, has just been the best AD carry all season long in any type of champions. He's played well with the MF early meta. Was shown he's great with the Felios. He's a young veteran. He's going to be able to play your Senna. He's going to be able to play your Ashe, Caitlyn. We know he can play Kalista from previous past Worlds. We know he can play Kai'Sa from previous Worlds. He actually has a Kai'Sa skin himself. I think he's where Ruler wants to farm up and carry like in a very Korean style. I think Jackie Love is not afraid to take action early and to snowball games out more, and I highly value that. At this World with some of these teams. And I think that ability to have an AD carry who not only is going to be able to help carry your team and play the meta champions and whatnot is good, but the fact that he's going to be able to not be afraid to go in early fights, not be afraid to fight, to win lane and win stuff early on, is one of the main reasons why I have him ahead of Ruler by a little bit.
So now Zen is at...
Yep, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
So my number 8 is a Ruler. So my Jackie Love and Rulers use the opposite, it's a flip. I think these two are obviously the standout AD carries coming into the tournament. I think the reason why that I do praise Ruler a little bit more than Jackie Love, I think, number one, I think laning partner Ruler has a harder time with Life compared to Jackie Love, who has Yuyanja, who I think Yuyanja is better than Life. And one thing that I really do like about Ruler that Joe talked about is his positioning in team fights. I think this guy's is the model AD carry, whereas Jackie Love is like the highlight plays, always maximizing damage. Ruler is what, I think coaches or many pros would say, hey, this is how you're supposed to play AD carry. Play front to back, play in the back. He does have times where he's active on the map, but I do see that Jackie Love is more proactive than. But I think Ruler is just solid. He's probably the best kiting AD carry. So yeah, that's my number 8.
Okay, so Colin will be on number 7, right?
And number 7 is my Western player on this list, and that is Caps. I think Caps at his best can be easily a top 3 player in the world. He has consistently been able to outplay sometimes even the best players in the world. Yes, at his worst, he does the exact opposite. But I think Caps is a player who is not afraid to make plays, and he's not afraid to make a quick snap decision if he sees somebody who's out of place and can be taken advantage of. And I value that heavily in mid laners. He's somebody who can go from, and I think we've seen this even in like LEC finals and stuff, he can go from being like 3-5 to 8-5 in like 5 minutes, just because he is able to see that aggressive play he goes in, and he is able to snowball off that and take his advantages to the next level.
I think Caps is too high here, or too low. I probably would have had him right around 10. I think just his unpredictability, for me, shields him from being considered a top 10 player, but that's just me.
For me with Caps, it's the thing is that he never wants to be in a losing position. He's always, like, if they are in a losing position for G2, he's always looking for that flank position to try and make sure his team is back in the game. Like, even in the Fanatic best of 5s that they were in, or even in the Rogue best of 5, he was always a consistent reason why, even if they were down in some of the games that they maybe should have lost, he was always making sure that he was putting out enough pressure that was able to have the enemy react to it. And the thing with Caps is, who are we going to see? Craps or Claps? That's the problem. Who are we going to see?
I will give. I think his lowest low hasn't been as bad as it used to be. I think G2, the reason why they were able to win that many games in the regular season was primarily due to Caps. So I do think that this guy, I think he has improved his lows so that it's not as low, and his highs, I think it's still as high as it. So I definitely see him on this list.
All right, so that means Zen is on number
7.
Okay.
My 7 is the best top laner coming to Worlds. No mistake this time. I think it's Zoom. I think JD Gaming's Zoom is by far the best top laner. I think, some people might think that 369 or Wonder or Nuggery might be able to contest him, but I think what Zoom does for JDG cannot be understated. So I think this guy is just insane as a laner.
Yeah, Zoom is a monster carry. Like, if people knew what the Shy could do before the Shy came out and he was super strong, Zoom is a little bit worse than the Shy in the Shy's prime. I would say that's where I would put Zoom at. Zoom is insanely good. Like, I would feel so bad for Solo when he has to face Zoom. He's gonna get rolled. Oh my god.
That's in the chat, boys.
But, Con, you're number
6.
You're number 6. Yeah.
We're just going to repeat kind of what was just said, because Zoom's my number 6.
Dude, our lists are so similar, man. Like, you'll be surprised about my 6, man.
Oh my god, yeah, like, Zoom is great. Like, people are really sleeping on Zoom. Like, it's always 369, Naguri, Wonder in the conversation. It's never really Zoom in the conversation.
I mean, there could be a chance I have another top laner higher than Zoom, but I think Zoom's a very good top laner. I think JDG plays very well for him. I think it's one of the reasons why they succeed in China. You need to have a good top laner to be able to I think succeed in that region or any region when it's fight so heavy. Because you have to be just as quickly a strong side player as a weak side when it comes to the LPL. There is no you wait around and there's no one side's a designated weak side always and one side's a designated strong side. The LPL they switch it up at a moment's notice. And Zoom can do both the weak side and strong side extremely well.
All right, so you guys are on your top 5 players right now, right?
We haven't heard his 6, so I'm guessing it's Caps based on what he was.
Yeah, so I have Caps as my number 6. I think Con and I, I don't know what happened. We didn't plan this beforehand to have such a similar list. Before Ravioli goes in on me for having Caps this high, man, I think this guy's high is very comparable to Knight and Showmaker, who I think are the top 2 mid laners coming into the tournament. I think this guy's high is insane. Like you guys said, his fluctuation is really big, but I do think that his fluctuation and his lows has been better than it has been in. And I think he's been able to do what is necessary for G2 to win. I think their bottom side, their bot side, I'm repeating this, but I don't think Perks is super good this season. I think he's been struggling. Obviously he has family issues, but I don't think that, G2's bot side will be able to match a lot of the top teams. So I think Caps is the reason why G2 is even in the conversation for these discussions.
Yeah, last year you had people putting Perks in their top 10 ADCs. I think that's still that still was wrong. But this year, I think the top jungle and mid for G2 have been one of the reasons why they've been relatively dominant. And then when they were slumping, people got to factor in the only reason why G2 even got to the playoffs was because if they had lost to Rogue in one of those games, they were out. Who saved them their season? It was Caps. Caps saved their season with the Syndra stun to steal the Baron. And I think that when people look at Caps, they say, well, he loses to the Chinese mid laners or the Korean mid laners. I mean, if you power rank somebody to be better than me and I lose to them, that should not be a surprise. That should not also be a knock on me. It's like if I were to play basketball against LeBron James, you shouldn't be favoring me. What the hell? What? That makes no sense at all. And I think he gets slack because people are comparing him to the best mids. And if you're saying that this guy's better than him, so if that guy beats him, that's not a surprise. It's not a surprise that Faker would beat Caps if you say out of your own mouth that Faker is better. But I digress. Caps being top 5, somewhere top 10 for me, but, I think it's not crazy if you put Caps in the top 5 anyway. I think that he's earned to be a little bit higher up this year based off his past Worlds performances and his past whole year performance, past summer, 2020 summer performance in the LEC, because I forgot he was in ADC in the spring split. So you guys are at your 5s, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you can name them off and see if they're similar, or you want to just do it one by one. It's up to you.
What do you want to do?
I mean, I'm okay. Just we can. We still got top 10 teams going. I'm sure that'll be a bigger discussion. So I'm okay just kind of naming my top 5.
Yeah.
Because I want to get into teams. I think teams is the juicy conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like the top 20 players is one of the biggest jokes out there because
yeah.
I think the team teams are more important and I think it leads to such a team game. So my top 5, I have Showmaker at number 5. I think he is an explosive mid laner for Damwon, and I think he's just by far the second best mid laner at Worlds. 4, I have Kanavi. Kanavi is a huge.
Kanavi is great. Oh my god.
Huge reason, why his team succeeds. He's not overrated. A lot of people like to think he's overrated. There's some people who don't think he should be high top 10, but I have him at number 4. Number 3, I have Canyon.
Interesting.
Okay.
Number 2, I have Nuguri. I think Nuguri is going to come into this Worlds with this top lane meta that I think is going to come out, and I see him performing super, super well and being the premier top laner in a carry position at Worlds. I think his upside as a carry outweighs sometimes that he can't really do too much weak side, but I think Nuguri is not somebody you ever want to see your top laner trying to 1v1 in any situation. And my top overall player I have is Knight, which I think a lot of people are going to have Knight.
Yeah, Knight's my number one too. Knight's just insane.
Yeah.
The only thing for Knight is that if you could somehow punish him for being over aggressive, that's the only thing you can do. I think he doesn't really have any flaws. Like I remember even watching a few random games during the split. Like this man, like this guy's just insane. Like I don't even know how you shut this guy down. I just don't see it. And the team should be literally thrown out of Worlds if you give this man Syndra. Give this man Syndra or Zoe, you should be thrown out. That is shitty drafting at its finest. But then again, that's just my own personal opinion. So, Zen, shoot off your last 5 and then we can go to the teams.
Alright, number 5, I have Canyon. Similar to Khan, I think this guy's really insane, but he's not my top jungler. Number 4, I have Chovy. Saving Ravioli's day, but I think this guy is insane mechanically. I will agree with Khan that, in a sense, his team doesn't set him up or, in a way, start the fights properly for him to have an impact. So I understand why people might not have him as high up, but I think just individually, I think this guy deserves to be top 3 mid laner just by itself. Number 3, I have Kanavi, similar to Khan. I think he's the best jungler coming in. He's dry for JDG, nothing much to say. Number 2, I have Showmaker. I think this guy is a better version of Chovy in a sense that maybe in lane he's weaker than Chovy, but in team fights he definitely knows what to do. Partly it's to do with his team being better, but I think Showmaker individually is no joke. Like everybody, number 1's Knight. This guy's champ pool is insane. This guy's team fighting is insane. This guy's laning is insane. Like, where do you even attack him here?
Me and my friend were talking on Monday. The only thing to punish him is just being over aggressive. It's the only thing you do. But
or maybe you just turn off his computer. Maybe that's the only way to beat him.
you throw a knife at his computer and have it stab it right in the center where it can't hurt him. He's like, oh no, what the cita? Oh no, computer broken. Just sit like that. No, this guy. Like, if Top Esports doesn't get out of the group, fuck. This world's a joke. Holy shit. If Top Esports lose to FlyQuest opening day, holy moly, that's gonna be...
Dude, NA will have to celebrate for a year, man. We're just going off that for a year.
If FlyQuest beat Top...
FlyQuest beat Top, and then there was 365 days of celebration in North America.
If Fly beats Top, I'll be a Fly fan. You can hold
on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no!
If they could take a single game off the Top,
I'd do it.
Even if Top forfeits because somebody gets the corona, right? I will buy a jersey tomorrow.
You won't see him till next week, guys. That jersey will be ordered and he'll cancel it. He'll show us a receipt that's canceled. I'm just fucking at you guys, but no, I'm not kidding with it. FlyQuest do face Top Esports first when they get to the main event. No pressure, no pressure at all. Power People's just facing the best player in the world. No pressure at all. Santorin's only faces Kanavi. No pressure at all. But yes, let's go to the top 10 teams for the 2020 World Championship. That way.
Do you want to go from top down? Because I think the bottom end for the top 10 will be
let's switch it up. Let's switch it up.
I actually have to pop out.
Okay, no problem, dude. See you next week.
See you, man.
Yep, I'll see you next week, man.
Yeah, see ya.
See ya.
All right, so I would say name your teams, and then kind of judge why we put them there.
In order when we name it, or do you want it to just...
top? I'll say bottom to top, not bottom. Yeah, it would be bottom to top. No pun intended. Fuck. God damn. Wait, it depends. How about we start this way? Is your number 1 Top or Damwon?
Top.
Okay. So your number 2 is Damwon.
Yeah.
Is Cons what's your number 2?
Yeah, Star 2 is my number 2 for me is Damwon.
Who's your number 10 team?
My number 10 team is TSM.
Yes, dude, I have the exact same, dude.
What? This is blasphemy! What podcast is this?
Yo. That's why I wanted to say go from top to bottom.
Yeah,
I think the bottom
I knew it. I had a feeling it was going to be it. I had a feeling. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, the top 2 are the same, but the bottoms are going to be like the jumpy ones. Because, okay, explain why you guys have put TSM in your top 10 teams for the World Championship for 2020.
So I think when it comes to top 10 teams, I think there's a lot of teams fighting for that 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th spot. I think the teams that are kind of behind TSM that I would put behind, I have Rogue a little bit behind, FlyQuest obviously. I just think TSM has shown that they've had so many stage games. I think that's helped.
Mm-hmm.
2, I think they have a very good understanding of what the meta is like this season and how to play around it. And I think when TSM, actually, I think they learned a little bit in LCS finals. One, stay away from the Jace, and like seriously, you're seeing what Broken Blade is playing in solo queue. You see how Bjerg's playing in solo queue. I think there's things like the Zillion. I actually think teams are going to permaban it potentially in group stage, and that might leave things like TF open. I think you're going to see Bjerg play a lot of Galio. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Camille Galio becoming a staple of TSM in group stages, and I think that's a comp they can do. And I also just think Spica's confidence. He's 18 years old. His confidence going to the playoffs and where he ended as a jungler to where he started. And seeing again what he's going through, and solo queue, hearing some potentially good scrim results for TSM. I think Spica might come in as that young player that doesn't know he's supposed to be, humble and reserved, and he's going to come in. And I think he's going to be really aggressive, and I think TSM, I put them as my 10th ranked team because of that. It doesn't mean they're going to get out of groups, as you'll see from my other ranked teams. They might not be they might be the 4th ranked team in that group that I have. But
to TSM's credit, they have no hype going in, so they could overperform based off expectations. That's the thing too. I think the only people high for them are the TSM fans and the fans of the players on the team. I think that going in, most people are expecting them not to make it out. But to be fair, just because they don't make it out doesn't mean they won't play insane. Like last year, people like RNG making top 5, top 6, and RNG, even though they got knocked out of their group, they played really well, in my personal opinion. I think RNG.
And people gotta remember too, only 8 teams make it out of groups. So hypothetically, 2 of the teams in your top 10 shouldn't make it out of groups because there's only 8 teams that make it out. So saying TSM's 10th is you're saying they're on the fringe of being able to make quarterfinals, which I think is reasonable.
Dude, that's gonna be the title of the video. TSM top 10 team in the world.
Yeah, I think my reasoning is very similar to Khan. I want to preface I'm not a TSM fan. I'm a C9 fan. So as C9 TSM rivalry, it pains me to say that I think TSM is top 10. But I think the reason why is because over the course of TSM, I was looking at 2 core things. Number 1, I was looking at whether or not Spica was able to focus topside, because I really think that Broken Blade is so much better as a carry play than a weak side. Check that. Number 2, can Double play weak side? That's the biggest question, and I think he said yes to that. He checked that too in the playoffs. So I think going in, this team knows the meta like concept. I think Spica, as much as we joke around him, he's progressed so much that I think he's really good. I think Broken Blade, when he's on carries, is a monster. And I think the way that people categorize Bjergsen is that against weaker competition in NA, he's a god, but maybe he's not the same against world class. But the reason why I think Bjergsen is playing that way is partly because it is NA. I don't think Bjergsen would play as aggressive as Brain Dead in a sense against the world class players. I think he will know how to give respect to them. It's been 2 years since he's been on the world stage, so I think he's going to treasure this time.
Okay, number 9s.
So my number 9 team is also in TSM's group. It's Fanatic.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Selfmade is one of the better junglers in that group. I think when him and Nemesis are actually working together properly, it's a formidable duo that can easily carry the team. Reckless, much like Doublelift, is a staple. He can play weak side, he can play strong side. Hillisang is coin flippy, but I'll take his coin flip over, say, Biofrost and stuff like that more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
And, Whippo is the wild card.
I agree.
I feel like he's so exploitable, but I also feel like he can be able. He can find someone to carry a game stupidly. But I think Fnatic plays good early games. if they can just brush up some really stupid macro decisions, they could easily, outperform this 9th ranking. I just think their biggest fault is they kind of have what you said with Knight was their Knight issue, which is like they feel like they need to fight sometimes, when really it's like, no, you don't need to fight.
The worst Baron control that any team.
You have a 2K gold lead right now. You can let them take this turret and move somewhere else on the map for resources, especially if you have the scaling comp. You don't need the 3v5 fight in mid lane for a turret that is at 1 HP.
Yeah. I think for me, Fnatic was a toss-up between Fnatic and TSM for 10. Ultimately, I didn't have Fnatic in my top 10. So my number 9 is actually Rogue. I think Rogue is better than Fnatic. Surprise, surprise. I think for me, the reason why I don't have Fnatic in the top 10, and I'm going to keep saying this, I just don't think Nemesis is a world-class player. I don't think this guy can stack up to any of the top 10 mid laners on their team. So I just don't know if this guy is is he sacrificing in draft for the team, or is he just playing at a certain cap? Like, he's not having any synergy with Selfmade, even though they brought Selfmade for Nemesis. I think the reason why, like I said, Fnatic made it to Worlds, a large part is due to Selfmade. And partly I give credit to Reckless. I think Reckless is a good player, but I just don't see them going far. I just see so many big holes in them, and maybe if Hylissang and Bipple make up the synergy with the team, they'll be higher. But going back from the finals, I don't think that their synergy, the way it is right now, is better than TS. In contrast, number 9, I think Rogue's bot lane is super underrated. Hansama, Vander, very strong. Larson, very, very strong. I think Inspired, a lot of people talk about him, but they don't really know how good he is. But I will give the big hole to Finn and so that's why Rogue is number 9 for me.
So Con has with the 8th team, right? Yeah.
The 8th team, and I guess it's good that Ravioli left, because this is probably going to make him really sad. But I have the 8th team, Dragon X.
I mean, that's not too surprising. I think Dragon X, it's the Chovy Depth show for me. Chef Chovy Depth and the Kyrie, the really good support. I think it's just them that makes them good. Their drafting is really suspect. Like, oh my god. And they play really they're not fast at all. They're most of their fastest game time comes from Chovy pushing them to do something. Doran, what was his name? Piosik? Doran and Piosik are not good topside. Piosik has gotten a little bit better. I'll give him credit where credit is due, but they're not good either. So, that's me personally, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of the things you said is the exact reason why. I think they got very lucky beating Gen.G in the semifinals of the LCK Summer Split. I think they got a little bit of an advantage moving from the Realm server to the live server, partly because I think Samsung has better. I mean, not Samsung. Gen.G has a little bit better coaching staff, so I think they're more prepared. Where I think DRX might have some better talent. So I think in a non-prepared condition, DRX can do decently well. But I just think they're very overrated. I think people see Chovy and they see other stuff and they think, oh man, this team is amazing. They must be amazing. I just don't think they're that. I don't think they're as top tier. I think they're the weakest LCK team coming in the Worlds.
I think it's also one of the weakest second seed Korean teams we've actually seen in a while. Like, usually the second Korean team is usually pretty powerful, but this one has very exploitable weaknesses. I mean, I'm telling people, you can beat them if you can stabilize Chovy. But they usually draft for Chovy and they have Deft on a scaling ADC, and they usually have Kyria on a Karma or a Nautilus, but I don't see that as some really strong point for them, I don't, because I think a lot of other teams can do that, except they actually can probably do it a lot better, But that's just me, But Zen, what is your...
So, I have DRX a little bit higher than Khan. So my number 8 is actually LGD. I think for me, LGD is a solid team. I think all of their players are really, really good, but there's not a single player that I would say is world-class caliber. there's not one player that I would say this player is going to show up in the big time and win the game for this particular team. So that's why I have spoilers DRX ahead by LGD by 1 place, purely because I think Chovy is what allows DRX to be even in Worlds and, able to go to Worlds for DRX, right? I think this guy is the definition of world class, and even though his team may not be as good as Solid compared to LGD, I think just having a world class player impacts a team way more than having 5 really good.
Alright, I see it. Alright, so Khan is on number... Wait,
7.
Ooh, we're getting there.
Would you say that you kind of went over your number 7 there with DRX, or...
What do you mean?
Oh, you said your number 7 team's DRX, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, are you going to cover them again after I give my number 7, or...?
I mean, honestly, this is so opinionated. I just purely think that having a world-class mid laner means a lot for a team, so that's why I have him 7.
So, I'm going to be spicy here. This is going to be the hot take that people may or may not like. My number 7 team is G2 Esports.
Yeah, I was going to go for you this time, man. Watch out, man.
I think G2 is vastly overrated last year. Yes, they finished second at Worlds, but I think they avoided some of the better teams on their side of the bracket. I think G2 is better than no Chinese team, mainly because they can't beat Chinese teams with this roster. And I think they've regressed from last year. They have a very weak bot lane.
I agree.
That do not do very well with this meta as much. I know Perks, and people say it's family issues, but I just think that him going into mid lane this split took away a lot of practice from bot lane champions in a season where the bot lane went like 180 degrees to begin the season. So he was catching up a ton, and I just I look at G2 as like the caps or bust team. I think Wonder is solid, but I don't see him being a carrier. I think Yankos has his upsides here and there, but I see him more as almost like a better Broxa and not a jungler that I think is going to be able to take off and carry and keep up with these fast-paced games that we're going to see. And I just worry for their bot lane. The other thing that worries me is like Diego's a little being dipped, but like it feels like anytime you hear G2 like a G2 scrim link, they're losing. They're losing the Unicorns of Love. They're losing the TSM. They're losing to LGD. Like and not to say like scrims are everything, but G2 is never a team that loses all their scrims. I just think they're very weak coming into this World, and I think a lot of people have them hyped because, they won LEC again, it's amazing, they won MSI, now they're going to win this World. It's like, no, I think they're going to have a tough go of it.
Okay. Oh, sorry if I mute my mic, I'm just typing to get a video ready. That was number 7, then yours at... Okay.
Yeah, so I already said my 7 DRX, so we can go to 6.
Okay. 6, that'd be for Khan. Who's your 6 team?
My 6 team is Genji Gaming.
Oh, perfect, dude.
Damn. These are looking all the same.
I think Ruler is super strong. I think BDD can stabilize mid lane very well. I know they have a weaker top side, but I generally think, Genji is the best team when it comes to playing a dragon-centric map. Even though I don't think that's the most preferred playstyle, I think being very good at that when other teams might not be that great at that will give them success. I think it's the reason I think they were the only LCK team to make it out of groups in the mid-season cup they had.
Yeah.
So I think Genji is better than the other teams I've said, mainly for those reasons. I think they know how they're going to play, they know how they're going to win, and I think, they're going to be a team that you can't really challenge in that way that much.
Yeah, I definitely see Genji here. The reason why I don't have Genji higher is because I think their top laner is a little bit suspect. Like, Rascal is good. I'm not saying he's terrible, but he's definitely not a world-class player. I think Ruler definitely does pull the weight. and BDD does pull the weight. So 100% see Gen G being here.
I think for Gen G, a lot of people just think that they're insanely strong because they have Clid, BDD, and Ruler. But a lot of the gameplay that they go through sometimes and that they actually show us it's man, like you can exploit the shit out of these guys. But the issue here is having world-class players like BDD, Clid, and Ruler means you don't really get that many points in the game to do that. But that's just, me for watching them all year. I don't think if they're going to make it, maybe if they make it to the finals, let's say maybe, it won't be off Rascular Life. It'll definitely not be off those guys at all. So we're on top 5. Whew, let's go.
Who was your number 16?
For Zen?
Yeah.
Oh, my number 6 was also Gen G.
Oh. Awesome.
Yeah, that's why I just piled on top.
Oh shit! You guys secretly did this like off screen. They're like, all right, we're gonna coordinate all this.
We're just trolling the fans, man.
Wait, is G2 on your list?
Yes.
Okay, where are they?
They are spoilers right above Gen G. Okay. So they're number 5.
Oh my god! Oh lord.
So I can do my number 5 here if you want. We can get into G2 more and we can break your heart.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
My number 5 is LGD. I rank LPL teams very highly. Spoiler alert, 4 of my top 5 are LPL teams. I think they showed at the Mid-Season Cup and in previous tournaments that they are just superior at this less vision, hyper-aggressive style. They're not afraid to fight for things. They're not afraid to out-team fight people. And I think LGD is a team, yes, they're the 4th seed coming out of LPL, but with people like, I believe, Peanut, some other laners they have, they're a scary team. I think they're going to come out first in Group C whenever they go in there, and I think they have a chance to make a deep run like WE did in a few years past.
What the hell is going on? Alright, sorry about that.
Let's go. Let's head into G2. Let's the final Western team that we're probably going to discuss unless Joe has G2 higher. But I think G2 solo lanes are really strong. Like Khan said, I think their bot side is super weak, but I want to give credit. Like until G2 bombs out or completely gets destroyed, I do have faith in Caps and Yankos and Wonder. I do think like these are the best top side for any Western team. So until that happens, I'm not willing to per se give other teams more credit compared to G2 because they are a really successful team. Everybody always thinks remembers that they lost the finals last year, but they almost got the full sweep. They got the mid-season invitational. They won both splits, right? Obviously their bot side can't be overstated, so that's why they're only number.
Man. Okay. Let's see. Wait, you cut out on that last part. What did you say?
Me?
Yeah, you cut out on that last part.
Oh, I just said like their bot side is pretty weak, so I think that's something why they're only number 5 for me.
I mean, like we had that discussion last night with some of my friends. What's worse, losing in the quarterfinals or losing in the finals? I mean,
I'd take finals, man.
I keep telling you, the point of these tournaments is to get to the finals and win. Nobody's like, you know what? I want to go to Worlds and I want to win quarterfinals. Nobody ever says that. If you're from North America, you talk like that. But I think that this year they do have weaknesses. I think other teams can exploit. They are definitely not as strong as they were last year in some areas. I think their flexibility is marginally toned down. I think that a lot of their playmaking comes from their top side. I think their bot side is stable, but I've seen Mickey X make a lot of support, good support decisions and a lot of bad support decisions recently. So that's why I really can't say they're going to do as well as they did last year, but they're also still pretty strong in their own way, That's just for me.
Yep.
All right, so we're on number 4, right?
Yes.
Right.
I think we have a pretty similar top 4 actually, Khan. So
I'm guessing your number 4 is Suning, or
yes.
So I think Suning might be the smartest team in Worlds. A lot of their, we're talking about their jungler and other areas. They play a very smart, strategic game. It's still the more aggressive LPL style, but they seem to have the eyes more on macro and stuff like that. That I think hurts them a bit in some areas. I think sometimes they are a step behind top LPL teams when it comes to team fighting and prepping for objectives, and sometimes they get caught prepping instead of looking for a fight. But I just think they're all around like a well-rounded, smart team from the LPL. I think they're going to bully they're going to bully G2 in group stage a bit. And I think they're highly underrated. A lot of teams think this because they're not that super flashy, super aggressive LPL team that they're not as good. But they have some very yet talented young players. And this is a squad to look at not just this year, but I think the next couple of years as being a potential dynasty maker if they're able to keep this core together.
I think Suning is very underrated by a lot of people. They don't watch their games, and I think that people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they see them. Like, if you want high-tempo, aggressive LPL team that's not just, like, they're literally just a little bit worse than top in some areas. I think they could easily take out JDG if they face off in a quarterfinal round. If, let's say, Suning get first and maybe JDG gets second. I think that the thing with Suning is that sometimes they make the wrong moves that they don't have to make. They over push. They always try to. It's weird. How would I say this? Like, they don't really play towards a lot of things that they know they can play towards, like their strengths. They never really correctly play towards their strengths. But I do think a lot of their players are world class in a lot of different areas. I think it all depends on Sword Art and SOFM. If Sword Art and SOFM can play as well as they did in the 2020 LPL Summer Split, I think they'll have a shot at doing really well. I think if they make semifinals, I'm not surprised at all. This is a really strong team.
I'm very glad that you mentioned Sword Art. I think this guy, like, a lot of people don't really remember his career. Like, this guy used to be on Flash Wolves. He came over to LPL. Like, this guy is no joke. Like, this guy was back then rated as a top support. I think, like Khan said, this team is really smart. That being said, though, I think the difference between my number 4 and number 3 seed in terms of strength is pretty huge. I think the top 3 teams are a step above the other teams. So, put what you want with it. But I do think Suning is strong, but they're not a contender.
But which number are they for you?
They're my number 4.
So at worst, you're predicting them to make semifinals.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad though. I think they're a good team. I think Angel is better than Caps. I think Sword Art has been playing better than Mickey X all year. I think SOFM is better than Yankos. Like, they have really good things about them. And I think that a lot of people are going to be sleeping on this team specifically. But yeah, well, we know with their top 4. So the only mystery team now for you guys is the number 3 pick. Because you know the top 2.
What do you have, Con?
My number 3 pick is JDG. I think I agree with Zen here that the fact that the top 3, I think, are separated by a large margin from the rest of the groups. Not to say that some of those other teams can't make a run and get there. I definitely think this, Worlds, anything can happen, especially in this COVID, era. But we've seen squads like Gen G come out of nowhere and win Worlds. But I think JEG overall is one of the cleaner teams. What they lack a bit for me in the top, in terms of like the reason why they're 3rd and not 2nd or 1st, is I just think they're a little bit weaker in the solo lane. I think going up against Showmaker and Knight, I just think that they aren't going to be able to hold their own as easily compared to those guys. But Zoom is a fantastic person. JDG won, I believe, spring split of LPL. I believe they finished. They're just overall a very, very solid team.
They were really close to winning that final. They were so close. They were literally inches away from being back-to-back LPL champions this year. I think the thing with JDG for me, a lot of people just don't really look at Yagao. I think Yagao has some issues where, like, I've seen this guy get blown out consistently on some days where he's playing. I think that he could be beaten by some of even the European mid laners, though. I think that Yagao has things where you can exploit, and I think that that's a part where you could exploit JDG through.
Yeah, I also have JDG third. I think, like Khan said, I think the weakest link is their mid. It's not to say Yagao is a bad player, but he's just not a top 2 player for his position. And that kind of happens, right? But I do think the rest of their team is super solid. I think Zoom is the best. Like I said, I think Bobby is the best jungler. So yeah, definitely deserve third place.
So why would you guys not have Damwon over top? For me, I would have Damwon over top. It's because I think that all the players on Damwon can match top, and I think that Damwon have a... It wouldn't be better playstyle because they relatively have the same playstyle. I would say that every player can be matched, but it's just more or less so I think that Damwon's bot lane is better. I think Beryl is better than, what's his name? Yuanji. I think that Ghost is comparably better than Jackie Love. But, that's tomatoes. I think I think that Canyon knows how to play with his laners better than Karsa does. But then again, top has 369. Who is comparably better than Naguri. It's kind of that's just for me personally. I would have Damwon over top. I think that Damwon is more consistent than top. Top is really aggressive and has shown to make mistakes at various points in the game. I mean, they're dropping games to JDG, who is considerably weaker than them. But, the same thing can be said for Damwon, because they were dropping games. Well, they really weren't dropping that many games, but you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. I think we had a pretty good episode here.
Yeah.
But guys, this is all hypotheticals. I know people are going to be like, my God, TSM top 10. Oh my God, they're trash. Front page of Reddit. Hey, but if you think you can do it better, go make your own show that's going to have 10 viewers and your dog subscribing to your channel. I don't care personally. But yeah, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all. Enjoy. World starts this week. I can't wait to flash my emotes. I love being able to flash those things all year long when you get them. Thank you, Colin, for being on. Thank you, man. Thank you, Zen, for your list. See you guys later. I'm signing out, guys. Deuces. Peace. Have a good day.
Hi there, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.